Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are having a lovely Sunday. Thank you for choosing our show. One of the biggest debates going on in Kenya today is the relationship between the church and the state, especially whether it is a right for the church to accept donations from the political class. We are all used to scenes where when churches have harambes, they would sometimes invite the political class, an MCA, an aspirant, a member of parliament, or the president. They usually give money. But after the Catholic Church, led by the Archbishop, rejected over 5.8 million shillings that was donated by the president, the deputy, and the Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja to the Soweto branch, there is a big debate around this. And there are divided opinions. There are people who feel that we should not accept that as a church, the money from the political class should be rejected in totality. But there is another school of thought that feels that it is okay as long as the money is channeled towards doing God's work, then it's okay to take this money. Now, the Archbishop Anyolo yesterday reiterated that this is not the first time that they have returned money from politicians. He was explaining that it's only that this time it was given prominence and the media highlighted, and William Ruto talked about it. Even his allies were at it. And he's saying that they will continue rejecting money from the political class. He was explaining that they're only waiting for the government directive because they don't know where to take this money. But that money has been set aside. It will not be used by the church, and that was the directive of the church. We should also note that every church has got its policies. The Catholic Church has got its own doctrines and policies, and so are the other churches. But as the Catholic Church is planning to return the money that they have rejected, and it really humiliated William Ruto, something is happening in Bungoma that I want us to look at. There is no harm in accepting donations meant for God's work. Bishop Mechumo receives 5 million Kenya shillings. Now, Bungoma Diocese Bishop George Mechumo has criticized church leaders for turning down President Ruto's cash donations, saying that if it is meant for the work of God, it should be accepted just like any other contribution. This comes a week after Archbishop Philip Anyolo turned down a donation made by President William Ruto to local church over what he termed an ethical concern. Speaking during a Thanksgiving Mass at St. Crispina's Anglican Church in Bungoma, Bishop Mechumo emphasized that church contributions play a critical role in fulfilling the church's mission, and he was saying that there is no harm in accepting donations intended for God's work, challenging detractors to provide alternatives. Where are those critics with 5 million to replace this donation? If they have it, we are ready to return the money to sender. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to read further. The Anglican Church, Bungoma branch, I don't know whether it is the diocese or something, accepted a 5 million donation from William Samoei Ruto, and this money was given to the Bungoma governor, Ken Lusaka. And this is how things transpired.
Askofu na kanisa letu, we are blessed. Mimi nimetumwa na Mheshimiwa Rais na shilingi milioni 5. 5 million. Iko wapi? Leta. I hope haitarudishwa. Leta rudone. Mkikataa mnipatie mimi mwenyewe. Baba Askofu, kuja niwapatie. Haya. Shika this. Shika. Mtoto ameenda mbio sana. Bishop amesema hatarudisha hii. Haya, si president amelipa deni. Hiyo ndio mavuno yake, amesema niwaletee. Sasa tukiongezea na ile alipeleka DEB, that day president amekuwa hapa, he has spent 10 billion in our county. 10 million in our county. Alafu huyu mako upalio kakusuko barabara. Ushindwe kabisa. Basi nataka tusindikize wale tuko tayari, kwa sababu hatukuwa tumejitayarisha kidogo tu. Mimi baba askofu nasindikiza Mheshimiwa Rais na shilingi 50,000, 50,000.
Now, matters that are related to religion and church are always very emotive. You try to talk about them, some will brand you an antichrist, others will feel that you're not being used by the devil, or that it's not very easy to analyze politics that is related to the church. But from the experiences that we have, you cannot separate the state and the church. They will always be in bed together, or the church will be a thorn in the flesh. We've had in the history of Kenya, when we had the clergy that were on Moi's neck, and they used to gang up together with the human rights activists, Kenya Commission of Human Rights, and even the opposition, to call out the former president Moi whenever he went wrong. During the clamor for multipartism, the church played a very, very critical role. And I remember there's a video that has been trending where one of the clergy was being beaten. But if you compare that to what is happening today, we have a church that has gone to bed with the government, and therefore they have even forgotten one of the roles, because the church is supposed to call out the government whenever the government goes astray. In fact, I remember Gwini Mutahi once labeled some of these churches that accept brown envelopes, and he was calling them M-Pesa bishops, because they love money so much that once they've been given this money, they are silenced. So depending on the doctrines of your church, depending on the policies, you can accept a donation or reject. As for the Catholic, they feel that it is not proper to accept the money. But why do you think critics of this idea of taking money from political class are saying that it is improper to take money? I want us to look at that. And before we do that, please accept my request to subscribe to our channel. If you want us to grow together and you want to grow this family, please subscribe, click the notification bell so that you can get my videos whenever we release them. You can also help this channel by giving this video many likes. It goes a long way in helping the video. You can also share our videos. Thank you very much for those who support the video and all the returning subscribers. Ladies and gentlemen, when we live in an environment where many people feel that the government is corrupt, it is always very difficult to separate. When you take the money as a church, will you be able to criticize the government when, for example, the Auditor General or the Controller of Budget, releases their audit report and they say that money has been misused? They say that there is a lot of corruption. Will you have the moral authority to criticize the government or correct them? You cannot. And this is why some people feel that if you want to stand strong, then you must take a position. For you to be able to criticize Ruto's government today, you must not be seen to be enjoying the money, because they will ask you. Can you imagine, for example, the bishop that has taken this money, the Bungoma diocese? I don't know if it's diocese or branch, just allow me to call it a branch. Can you imagine the bishop, coming up now and starting to criticize the government? People like Kimani Chunga will be on his neck. They will tell him, you cannot criticize the same government that gives you money. But you see, for the Catholic Church, and this is why the Catholic Church is very strong, and they always have the moral audacity to call for a press conference and say that we condemn abductions. They say there is a lot of corruption. They tell Ruto, can you stop promising and implement what you gave to Kenyans, because they have rejected the money. Yeah, many people feel that you cannot criticize the same government that you accept money from. It is also common knowledge that when you are given this money, you are compromised. Let me tell you, the human psychology is very funny. Once you have been given this money, you cannot have that authority to criticize when things are going wrong. In fact, one of the reasons why Ruto is giving out the money, they know very well that the church controls massive numbers. In 2022, they campaigned using the church. The church said that we have our own candidate. William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua had said that they were God sent. The church is an opinion shaper. So when you allow the church without, because this is how they are checked, you kind of pocket them. When you allow them to criticize, they will influence the opinion of the people. And you see, William Ruto is now facing rejection from Mama Mbogas, the youths, all the people who voted for him. So if the church adds to it, it is going to be very difficult. William Ruto wants to go to 2027 election with the part of the church, because 3/4 of the church, I think, has gone. So they are trying to compromise the church. There's also this argument that this money is unaccounted for. They cannot account for it. When you look at, for example, the money that William Ruto earns as a president, and you look at the expenses, then you try to balance, the expenses and what he gets, a balance sheet sort of, you realize that there is more to it than meets the eye. In an environment where the counties cannot be given money because William Ruto is saying that we don't have sufficient funds. In an environment where teachers have to go on strike before their CB collective bargaining agreement is accepted or is implemented. In an environment where doctors have to be, there has to be a running battle between doctors and the police because they want money. You see, when the church goes ahead to take this money, it is unaccounted for, and the flock that attends the church will always think we are looking for money as teachers, as doctors, and maybe civil servants. The government is telling us that there is no money, yet there is a lot of money to give us donations. You remember how the other time Oscar Sudi carried, I think, some millions in a bash, and they was taken to the church, and you try to figure out where this money is coming from, then you realize you cannot account for it. And the other thing is that the US just the other day flagged off Kenya as a bedrock of wash, if you money laundering, if you understand what I mean. And so when we see money flying anyhow without any explanation, then you could always even try to think that there's a lot of money laundering in the country and the political class leads. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, I said depending on the doctrines and the policies of your church, you decide what you want to do. So the Bungoma branch has decided to take 5 million Kenya shillings. In fact, if Bishop and Archbishop Anyolo is going to return that money, William Ruto will take it to the willing recipients. And I know there are many churches who are yearning for this money. I don't know. You decide whether it is right or wrong, but I feel when you take it, you are compromised.